Hello everyone and welcome back to another episode of Creating My Fantasy Dresses. So for the dress number 2, I will be showing you how I created that beautiful dress right there. Welcome to Aldo DIY. Today I am going to show you how to transform this men's shirt to a beautiful dress. So let's go ahead and get started. In this tutorial, I am going to show you how I drape and drew the pattern pieces, and I'm also going to show you how I constructed the whole entire dress. First thing is I am going to create a pattern and I will be doing a draping technique. So first I find the center of the mannequin and I marked it, and then I am now creating the shape of the bodice. So I want this bodice to have a wide waistband, and as you can see I am just shaping it on the mannequin. This is pretty straightforward. You are simply creating your design on the mannequin, and it's going to be so much easier if you have a picture that you are referring to, because right now here I'm actually just kind of winging it. The design is in my head, but it's going to be so much easier if you actually have a picture that you are going to refer to as you are draping. So this is the complete design, and it took me about 10 minutes to complete the draping process. Now it's time to transfer the pattern on the fabric. As you can see here, I am smoothing out the fabric. So if you need to cut some small incisions or small cuts along the curved areas, do that. So it's going to release the tension of the fabric on that area. Then I am going to trace along the outside line of the style tape, and I'm also making sure that I am not stretching my fabric at all. I am using a pencil to trace the outside line. I could use a marker, but I actually don't want to stain my mannequin. Okay, for the front bodice, we have 3 pieces, so I'm going to trace that out separately. So now I am tracing the waistband, and same process, I am going to smooth it out, make sure there are no wrinkles or puckering on the fabric, and I am going to pin it as well so I can trace it properly. This is also a good time to use those scrap fabrics. And the style tape that I used was bought from Amazon. It came in 12 packs and in lots of colors. I decided to use black because it is so much easier to see under that fabric. Just leave the links to that in the description box below so you can go ahead and check that out. Guys, I actually really enjoy draping. I mean, it is so much easier than paper patterns. So if you are a beginner, don't worry about it. Just do it because I am a beginner too. And this is my third draping project. And you guys, I don't think I'm ever gonna go back to paper patterns. If you would like to share your fantasy dresses, be sure to leave them in the comments below. You guys, I'm absolutely having a good time reading all your comments from the previous fantasy dress tutorial. Thank you so much for sharing that with me. I really appreciate it. After that is done, it's time to true the pattern pieces. As you can see here, I am adding 1/2 inch seam allowances on all sides, and I added 1 inch for the zip at the back. So this is the back bodice. Repeated the same thing on the front bodice patterns, but the ones on fold doesn't have allowance at all. I have 1 center front, 1 waistband, and 2 side fronts. I actually have an ultimate fantasy dress, and I think it is in every girl's dream to have this dress. And if you have a guess what that dress is, be sure to leave that in the comments below. I would love for you to speculate what's my ultimate fantasy dress. I'm excited about that. Just thinking about it makes my heart beats really fast. The next process is deconstructing the shirt. So here I am trimming off or cutting off the sleeves and cutting it open. And I place the center front pattern on fold, and I am going to cut it out. I am trying to use as much fabric as I could. Now I am cutting the waistband. I place it on fold and I place the side fronts not on fold. So I will have two pieces of those. Of course, I am going to do the same thing for the back pieces or back bodice. This is when I figured out that I ran out of fabrics already and I'm not going to be able to use the same blue material for the bottom of the dress. To be honest, I already expected it because looking at the shirt, originally it was a little small to make a dress out of. So basically here I am just cutting out like big pieces of fabric that I can salvage, and I was still trying to figure out if I can actually use this. But as I fit it on the bodice, it was too short, like really, really short, like illegally short. Next, it's time to construct the bodice, my favorite part. Match the right sides of the center front and the side front. It was very challenging, so this is my solution. I simply base stitch it along the curve and I'm going to slightly gather it to ease it in on the curve because it was super hard to match it because it was very curvy. But you don't want to gather it, you just want to slightly gather it to ease it in, all right? I repeated the same to the other piece, and looking at it now, I should have done it on the center front curve as well because the end product was still a little wrinkly on the center front side. Now I am just going to pin it on the right side of the fabric and just following along the curve, and it worked really well. Was also thinking maybe next time when I use the same pattern, I am not going to add 1/2 inch allowance on the curve area. So it is so much easier to match. After I stitch along the curve, I gave it a good press and this is what it's looking like right now. I am a little frustrated because it has some wrinkles and I always tell you do not sew over a wrinkle, but this one it was very unavoidable. And here I am grading the curve, so it's going to release any tension on that curve side. I am also going to give it a good press just to make it look nice and pretty. Got rid of some of the wrinkle but not all of it. So anyway, it's time to sew the waistband on the bodice. As you can see here, I am just matching it and I'm going to start sewing at the center going out, and then I will come back again and sew on the other side. The reason why I decided to do it this way because there was a curve on the under bust, so I just want to make sure that I'm gonna get that curve. I was thinking if I just sew it straight shot one stitch, it's not gonna give me that curve that I was looking for, and plus this fabric was really stiff, so I was like nervous that it's not gonna drape properly. So it worked really well. Now it's time to release some of the tension on the curve just like I'm doing here, and then I'm gonna give it a good press just to make everything look so professional. After pressing the seams open, I am going to attach the back bodices, so I match the shoulders and the side seams, and I'm going to stitch along on those areas. Bodice is looking beautiful and it's time to work on the bottom of the dress. So I decided to use this white fabric that I got at the thrift store a few weeks ago. And I will be using the same skirt patterns that I used for the red dress that I made last week. And this is actually the same pattern that I use on a lot of my dresses. But this time, this is going to be the shortest dress I have ever made in my life. So I am going to make it about 15 inches long, including the seam allowance or the hemline. I'm also going to cut a lining piece for the skirt, and it's going to be 14 inches long instead. Now it's time to attach the bodice to the skirt. I match the waistline together, and this is also a good time to add the lining. So basically, you just place the lining together with the skirt and do what like I am doing here. But actually the lining was an afterthought. I realized the fabric was a little sheer, so I decided to add it at the last minute. It still worked perfectly, so I'm going to show you how to add that at the end. Plus, I decided to add lining because my daughter liked the dress and she said she's going to use it as a play dress. Here I am doing a neck facing. So basically, I just cut out the top portion of the neckline and it is about 2 inches in width. So I simply match the shoulders together, right sides of the fabrics, and I'm just going to stitch it. And I'm gonna give it a good press. I place it on the right side of the fabric and I'm going to match the shoulder seams. And I'm just going to secure it. Sew a straight stitch all the way from this end to the other. And here I mark the V so I know where to pivot the needle later on. Once you reach the V, lift up the presser foot and turn the fabric and continue on sewing. I am going to cut on the V right here to release that tension right there, and I'm going to understitch the facing so it will stay inside the bodice. This is a tricky bit right here because it is on a point, so if you give it a good press it will actually look so much better. So now it's time to understitch it. Just be sure that the raw edges are resting on the facing. And it should look like this. Give it a good press. It should remove some of the wrinkling on the neckline, and it did, as you can see here. I'm going to use a bias tape to finish the armholes. So I'm just going to follow along the armhole or the arm side. The good thing about using a bias tape is it's going to follow along the curve because it has a little bit of stretch. Okay, so basically that's what I'm going to do. I'm just putting it right sides of the fabrics together, and I'm also opening the bias tape. Fold it in and then put this other end just right on top of it, just like that. As you can see, you're just going to sew it, and then I'm gonna place the needle down and stitch along. Fold in the bias tape and stitch along all the way around to seal all the raw edges inside. It's time to add the lining at the last minute. I am going to stitch the lining on the allowance. Okay, so it's probably going to be about 1/8 of an inch away from the edge. After that's done, it's time to hem the skirt. So I will be doing a double roll hem and I am using a hemmer foot. There will be a separate tutorial on how to do that. I'm going to have the link in the description box below or here in the info card. As you can see here, this foot is gonna give you a professionally looking hem. So good, you guys, and it actually gave the hemline a little bit of curl, almost like a lettuce hem, and I really like that look. I haven't put the zipper on because I don't have a zipper that is long enough. So the back looks really pretty, as you can see here. So yeah, I was hoping I was going to be able to put the zipper before I do the dress reveal, but I won't be able to. I am really having fun creating this dress. I feel like I'm expressing my creativity because these styles are not my normal style. Thanks so much for watching, and if you enjoy this video, don't forget to give this a thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe to my channel because I will be posting a few more fantasy dresses tutorials. Guys, thanks so much for watching again, and I will see you in the next episode. Bye!